February 16th, 2013. It was a gut-wrenching feeling for spectators, but a familiar one for Emily Frazier. During Liberty's game against Radford, the Lady Flames guard hit the floor, clutching her right knee. It's every basketball player's worst fear.
When I went down, I knew I tore it. I was hoping it wasn't ACL, but I had a feeling it was. Just sadly, I knew that pain. I knew what happened, how it felt.
It was a torn ACL. The reason Frazier knew is because she had already come back from the same injury in her other knee. She tore her left ACL in high school and later tore her left meniscus her sophomore year at Liberty. Faced with yet another surgery on her previously unblemished right knee, Frazier was also faced with a decision.
Literally, I just remember laying there being like, what are you gonna do? Are you gonna trust God and keep moving forward, or are you gonna say, well, are you gonna question God's reasoning for bringing me here?
Her faith and her love of the game brought her back to the court this year. Frazier's passion for basketball began at the age of 5 in a dirt driveway in Dacus, Texas. Her father and older brothers were playing a pickup game when the undersized Frazier begged for a shot.
So they give me the worst basketball that we have that they're never gonna use, and I just remember sitting underneath the goal and just throwing it. I literally can remember it because they all three went inside and I stayed out there and just kept, I was gonna make that layup. I was gonna make that shot.
The influence Frazier's father had in her life stretched beyond basketball. She called him her best friend. But around the time of her second knee injury, Frazier's dad developed cancer and set out on a fight for his life.
Coach Green let me go home the whole Christmas break because my dad, when I got home, I didn't know this at the time, but when I got home and he was in the hospital, he was supposed to die that night.
But her father didn't die. In fact, he began to show signs of improvement, giving Frazier and her family hope that he would beat the disease. But that hope was short-lived. Just a few weeks later, after returning to school, Frazier's phone rang. It was her mother.
I remember the phone call. I was driving right by the stadium and the bookstore, that little curve. I remember because I almost lost control. I got a phone call and it was right before the Big South tournament. And my mom said, hey, Dad got pneumonia. I think you need to come home.
Frazier flew home to Texas. 2 days later, on March 9th, 2012, Robert Frazier died. He was 61 years old. His death came on the same day as Liberty's quarterfinal game in the Big South Championships. Frazier missed the tournament, which Liberty won. After a phone call from her coach, Kerry Green, Frazier rejoined her teammates for their NCAA tournament game at Notre Dame.
That was really hard because I didn't want to. I love my team, I love my coaches, but I wanted to be with my family.
Frazier didn't play because of her injury, but she did receive tremendous support from her teammates. The pain of her loss was still real, but Frazier says she finally found peace when she stopped asking God why.
It's what I kind of came to the conclusion of okay, if I do know why, is it gonna satisfy me? No, I would keep asking more questions and more questions and more questions, and at the end of the day, I just decided am I gonna trust God or not?
Since enrolling at Liberty, Frazier's finished her undergraduate degree and is now working towards a master's in elementary education. But she's keeping her options open to whatever she feels God has for her life.
I just like the thought of teaching. So whether it's high school, middle school, or elementary, it really doesn't matter. Maybe. I love this game.
She isn't a licensed teacher yet, but Frazier's approach to life's adversity is a lesson we could all use. I'm Nick Pierce.